Hi, my name is Lindsey Belman, and I'm a Board Certified Behavior Analyst with Brett DiNovi Associates. In this episode, we're going to discuss task analyses. Task analysis can be found on the 4th edition BCBA task list under D6, Use Chaining, and D7, Conduct Task Analyses. It can also be found under the 5th edition task list under G8, Use Chaining. Task analysis is a teaching method used to teach a complex skill by breaking it into smaller steps that occur in a sequentially ordered chain. As a reminder, Cooper, Heron, and Heward define a behavior chain as a sequence of responses in which each response produces a stimulus change that functions as conditioned reinforcement for that response and as a discriminative stimulus for the next response in a chain. When developing a task analysis, you'll first want to identify the learner and the skill you want to teach that can be found in a naturally occurring chain. These can often be identified through some of the more common assessments, such as the ABLES, the AFLs, or Essential for Living, just to name a few. Most tasks of daily living that we commonly teach are naturally occurring chains. Some examples of other chains could include completing a puzzle, engaging in a brief back and forth conversation, or playing a game. Next, you'll develop the task analysis using a few methods we will discuss further in just a moment. Then, you'll probe the task analyses to see how your learner responds. You may find they actually have the skill, but perhaps did not demonstrate it on their first assessment. Task analyses, or TAs for short, should always be customized to each learner and their needs. For example, some learners you can teach a chain in a limited number of steps. However, some learners may need you to break it down into smaller steps. While it may be easy to use previously made TAs, this is not best practice. You should always make your TAs for each specific learner. Think about how you may do your own tasks of daily living. You may brush your teeth by starting with your right hand, but perhaps your learner is left-handed and they start every task with their left hand. These are all important things to note, to notice, and customize for your task analysis for your learner. When preparing your own task analysis, there are a few ways you can write the task analysis. You can observe someone competent complete the behavioral sequence and record the steps.
You have your shirt, you're going to lay it down, face down. The collar will come right to the top edge.
You can consult an expert or person skilled in the performance of the task, or you can perform the behavior yourself and record the steps. Research has had some conflicting reports over the years on which chaining method works better when teaching skills via task analysis, and whether one chaining method works better for a learner than another. However, direct comparisons have not established that one method is consistently more effective than the other. In 2011, Slocum and Tiger found that there was no difference in the acquisition of the skill using forward or backward chaining, and even when they looked closely at individual learner preferences, the individual learner did not learn more efficiently with either procedure. However, they do point out that some tasks allow more natural sources of reinforcement to result from the completion of the chain using backward chaining in lieu of socially contrived reinforcement in forward chaining. For example, when making a sandwich, completing the last step allows immediate access to the sandwich in a backwards chain, as opposed to forward chaining it, in which you would have to bring in outside reinforcement to complete each step. While the debate continues in the research, use your own common sense and logic when choosing a chaining method. Would it make more sense to work on a puzzle in a forward chain or a backward chain? How unsatisfying to put in just the first few pieces and call it quits, as opposed to putting in the last two pieces and seeing the whole picture. Cooper, Heron, and Heward suggest using total task chaining if 1, the student can perform many of the tasks in the chain, but need to learn the sequence. 2, the learner has an imitative repertoire. And 3, the sequence is not too long or complex. Once you have chosen your chaining method, determine mastery criterion. For example, you might suggest 100% independence across 3 days and 2 instructors. Next, train your staff on how to implement the task analysis. This should include modeling it with the learner and reviewing the data collection. Be sure to discuss how to record the prompt and discuss prompt fading. Last, run the TA and monitor the data for progress. If your learner is making limited progress via task analysis, reassess the TA by looking at a few factors. If the learner is stuck on just 1 or 2 steps, can you break it down into smaller steps? For example, I was once teaching a young learner to put on his socks, and he continued to struggle with the step of putting his fingers in the sock and holding it open. By breaking that down into left hand in, right hand in, and holding the sock open, we were able to overcome the barrier of this one step. Another thing to look at would be the chaining method. Would a different chaining method work better? For example, consider switching to forward or backward chaining if you are running total task. And last, is your learner missing some prerequisite skills to the steps of this task? For example, is he or she expected to use some fine motor skills that are not quite developed? See if putting the task analysis on hold and mastering some of those prerequisite skills would be helpful. As Stokes et al. Found, some correspondence training was necessary for their learners to be able to discriminate between dirty and clean when teaching a toileting routine. Task analysis is a great ABA teaching strategy that can be used to teach behavior chains. I hope this video helps you get started on making your own TAs. Thanks for watching this episode of Hacking Clinical Behavior. Please comment below if there are more skill acquisition topics you would like to learn about. Thanks so much.